It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and welcome back to another disc discussion. Today we'll be discussing the best Blu-rays of 2021. Now, this is going to be a list of 12 companies and their highlight releases, not so much a traditional ranking. I would do this as a top 12, but it was too hard, and honestly, I was like, you know what, let's discuss and let's highlight the best things that came out this year. I sort of ranked them like, you know, kind of least surprising to most surprising, just in the way I've ordered this video, but I think you'll get the hang of it pretty soon. Now, there are a couple releases I'm not including because I don't have them yet. They're held up with shipping delays and they're in transit, or they haven't come out yet, and I need to get this video done. And that includes Media Blaster's release of Zayram and Discotek's releases of Robot Carnival on 4K, Project A-ko, and Cutie Honey the Live. So those likely would be included in this video of the best of the year anyways, because I know the output of those companies and how they work, but they just didn't make it because I didn't make it here in time. So, if you enjoy this type of video where I more so just discuss a year as opposed to ranking it, be sure to hit that like button and hit subscribe if you enjoy Blu-ray and DVD videos, because I definitely have plenty on the channel which you might want to check out. So let's begin with the bottom of the, least surprising up to the most surprising. And we're starting with Warner Brothers. So the standout release from Warner Brothers Home Video this year for me was Superman: The Complete Animated Series. This is a 6-disc set, which is the entire Superman Animated Series on Blu-ray, and that's pretty much it. Because this is, this I think would have been the bottom of the list if this was a traditional top 12 for a couple reasons. First of all, it's not too surprising we got this. This is, the least surprising because, well, it's the 25th anniversary of the show, and they previously released Batman Beyond on Blu-ray last year, and Batman the Animated Series the year before. Now, while these two got special limited editions, in addition to standard releases, Superman just got a standard release, which is, fairly nice. Honestly, it is an upgrade from the DVD sets, especially since the DVDs took up more room. It's a very nice compact set, but there is a couple issues with the set that I want to go over. So this is a show on 6 discs, which is pretty good. There is no compression artifacts. The remaster looks great. If you want to try it out before buying it, kind of see how the remaster is, it is on HBO Max in the HD remaster. And the remaster looks great. It looks gorgeous. The show's never looked better. It's never sounded better. The only problem I have with this release is that it contains some of the bonus features from the DVD, but not all of them. So there is an extra bonus disc that is all special features, and I believe 2 of these are new, and then the rest of these are brought over from the DVDs. But the commentary tracks is where the problem is. So they only include, let's see, we can point them out here, 1, 2, 3 commentary tracks, when the DVDs had like 9 or 10. And what's kind of strange is that the commentary tracks here are not audio tracks, they're separate video files. So if you want to listen to the commentary, you have to watch the episode in SD, which is kind of strange and makes me wonder if they kind of lost the master tapes for those audio commentaries, hence why only 3 of them got brought over, because, well, are you going to add an extra 9 to 10 episode video files to discs that are probably already, at the capacity? So it's still a solid release. I think it's not as nice as the Batman sets, because Batman sets did have all of their bonus features, but there could be a reason for that, hence the audio commentary issue. So that was the majority of what the bonus features were on the previous sets. But all the featurettes and specials are included, and that's pretty nice overall. So if you're wanting to upgrade Superman to Blu-ray, this is definitely a worthy purchase. But in the overall grand scheme of the year, it was a little lacking. But I am glad to have it, and I look forward to The Batman coming out next March. Our next segment is going to be about Shout Factory. They had a couple releases this year that I found to be kind of on par, but we have Transformers the movie, now in 4K. This is the limited edition Shout Factory Steelbook edition, and it looks really gorgeous. I love this art a lot more than the previous release. So this isn't too surprising in the grand scheme of things. We have had Transformers the movie on Blu-ray from Shout for a couple years now, and a 4K just seemed natural since they already had done the transfer in 4K. But honestly, it looks incredible and sounds even better. I'm honestly super, super impressed with how this release turned out. I was kind of expecting, Blu-ray but slightly upgraded, but it's honestly quite good. And then on top of that, the Steelbook edition came with these really cool art cards, which I think are a nice little bonus. They give me a very 80s theater card vibe, which is pretty cool. So overall, I mean, it's not too surprising that we got a 4K, especially with this being the 35th anniversary of the movie. Kind of likes to tie in those things. Home video companies really do love anniversaries. They're like, oh, this is 35 years old. Let's release it again. And this is probably the best and last time we'll see this thing on disc because there's really nowhere to go from here. It looks incredible. It sounds incredible. It's a great release. But again, not too surprising. What is more surprising is Scream Factory, which is Shout Factory's horror/monster imprint, releasing King Kong from 1976, which, by the way, gorgeous cover art. Scream Factory and Shout Factory's movie releases, just in general, when they do a catalog film, it always has really nice new artwork, and this is no exception. So King Kong, of course, came out because Godzilla vs. Kong came out this year. Also love the option of having the original poster. And this is the 1976 version with Jeff Bridges, with Jessica Lange. It's honestly a movie I hadn't really seen before this year, and knowing the Blu-ray is coming up, I watched it on HBO Max and actually really fell in love with it. Because it's a new take on King Kong, and I liked that it wasn't just remaking the 1933 story, which is kind of how the 2005 film went, but I really liked the approach here. They kind of try to modernize it to the 70s, and I really liked it. And overall, I think it has a lot of great special effects work in the sense that their giant animatronic King Kong did not work, so they had to do suit work. Because, you know what, as soon as we get closer to Tokusatsu, I start loving it more. So this release is actually kind of surprising. If you may have noticed here, there is a theatrical cut and a television cut. So back in the 70s and somewhat into the 80s and apparently into the 2000s with the live-action Grinch, there would be movies shot with extra footage on purpose to turn into TV cuts. So essentially, the theatrical cut would be sort of put together a little bit better. And, you know, it's 134 minutes. That's a theatrical run. But then the television cut's 182 minutes and would be shown across 2 different nights. It'd be like a Saturday, Sunday movie presentation, and that was kind of how that worked. Now, a lot of these television cuts have not resurfaced after they've aired, especially recently, but I've noticed between this and a recent Warner Archive Blu-ray of Superman, they've started to release these television cuts again, and it's really nice that Shout Factory included that on this disc. There's also some wonderful little commercials that are hidden as an Easter egg on one of the discs, and I really do like that. But it's a 2K scan of the additional TV footage, and it just looks amazing. I'm actually super impressed. The movie has never looked better. Really nice work, and then on top of that, having the TV cut and having the TV cut look really damn good is just making this an outstanding release. So, Transformers the movie, really great, but kind of expected. King Kong, a really nice surprise. And these crazy people did a, 2K scan of RoboCop 3, so can we get King Kong Lives? I know that movie isn't great, but boy, could it get like a similar presentation, because that'd be hilarious, and I'd love it. But yeah, Shout Factory, you did a lot of good stuff this year, but these are the 2 highlights. Next up, we have Viz Media's release of Naruto on Blu-ray. Now this is actually, again, another surprising release because Naruto doesn't have a Blu-ray in Japan, from what I understand. I've looked around and haven't seen any listings for it. Now set 1 did come out in 2020, but we did have sets 2, 3, 4, and 5. I haven't picked up 5 yet. It's been a hectic year. But this is kind of impressive because they've taken a show that was done, I think, digitally. It wasn't cell animated, that's for sure. And they've remastered it quite well. In addition to that, they even got new cover art commissioned by Studio Pero, who did the series. So you can see there it's a nice connecting cover, which I really, really like. In fact, set 4 even comes with a poster of that. But essentially, this is an upscale. It's not a full remaster, but it's an upscale. But it's one of the nicest looking upscales I have seen for an anime. And that's especially surprising considering it's Viz, who aren't typically the let's restore a show company. They're more of the let's put it out because it's new and trendy company. And honestly, I don't know who did it, if it was Viz or if it was Studio Pero, but the upscale on this is very, very nice. I've been watching the show again because of these Blu-rays, and I didn't want to wait for the Blu-rays to keep watching, so I've gone back and started watching it on Netflix to pick up where I left off, and it doesn't look as nice. It looks so much better on these Blu-rays, and it's really, really cool. So hopefully these continue. It's going to be 8 sets for Naruto, we know that for sure, and hopefully it continues into Shippuden, because honestly, I know Shippuden switches over to being HD broadcast at some point, but seeing the show remastered this way has been really nice. It includes dub and sub, has new interviews with some of the dub voice actors, and yeah, it's super duper nice overall, and as someone that owned the DVDs, it's a lot more compact, and yeah, it's definitely one of the best releases of the year, and I hope they keep going, because so far so good. I'm believing it. So I won't spend too much here because I did do a full separate review of this, but the Gundam Seed Destiny Ultra Edition Blu-ray is absolutely one of the best releases of the year. And it's even better than the Seed set because out the gate we have the proper home video version of the show. So if you were kind of, hesitant on getting Seed Destiny, I have a review, I break it all down, I break down the cost, and I hope that's really helpful. But I'll link that and kind of move along because we've already talked about this set for 20 minutes. I just wanted to highlight it here because it is one of the best releases that has come out this year. So another surprising company lately has been Media Blasters. They came back with a vengeance. They've been relicensing a lot of their older titles, especially their tokusatsu ones, the ones I've been focusing on mostly, and they've been doing pretty great. The Zayram 2 and Zebraman releases I thought were fantastic, and same goes for Devilman Hakkaider, and I'm sure Zayram as well. And next year they're releasing 5 Kamen Rider movies. So yeah, this company's really picking up steam, and it's really nice to see because everyone thought they were gone and dead, but hey, they're back, and they're doing pretty great. Especially with their $15 tokusatsu movies. I really like that price point because it doesn't impact the quality, it seems, because these are still really, really nice. So Devilman was released by Media Blasters on DVD, and it had a bunch of bonus features which all carried forward, which is super nice to see. And, it's all on one disc now, even though it says disc 1. That implies there's a disc 2. There is not. They just reused the art from the DVD. But you know what? What you can use and reuse art, use it if it's going to be $15, but still be a very great video and audio presentation, which, you know what? This is probably the nicest this movie's ever going to look because this movie's not pretty. It's kind of an eyesore at times, but they did a really good job with the release, and I'll give them credit for that. We also have Mechanical Violator Hakkaider in the Hyper Destroyer edition. Now this release is actually pretty cool. This was a mid-90s tokusatsu film done by Keita Amamiya, and you know what? It's kind of a wild take. It focuses on Hakkaider as the hero as opposed to Kikaider, because it's based on the original Kikaider series from the 70s, except it flips the roles. It makes Hakkaider the main character. Even though he's more of an anti-hero, he still does a lot of stuff. And this release is just poppin'. I mean, if you're talking packaging, inner art with Hakkaider on his bike, oh, that's just great. And then on top of that, you have a very nice visual presentation. What's surprising about this is that Toei does not have an HD master for this out in Japan. There is no Blu-ray edition. So Toei let Media Blasters do a Blu-ray, which is very unlike Toei. They usually give, the North American audience the weakest version of their releases to put out. So actually getting this is pretty nice. It does include both the director's cut and the theatrical version. The director's cut was what Media Blasters released before, and it does include the English dub they did back in the day. And while this isn't, a perfect, mastered in 4K, 1080p Blu-ray presentation, this still looks really nice. I think the theatrical looks a little better than the director's cut, must be because of the masters, but they did a really great job releasing this, and it looks probably better than it ever has. Because, yeah, there really isn't too much to work with, just because the film isn't as popular in Japan as it is in North America. So it really got the stellar release that it deserved. So Hakkaider, pretty nice. And if you want to watch this without buying it, it is on Tubi TV in at least the US and maybe Canada. So Hakkaider was the standout here, but I was actually kind of surprised they also did Devilman. So good job, Media Blasters. You're doing good so far. It'd be kind of surprising I talk about a company like NCircle Entertainment, but here we are. NCircle released Sonic Boom on Blu-ray this year. Both seasons, all the episodes, plus bonus features. What? For those that aren't aware, modern, kids-focused animated shows typically are DVD only, if anything. And guess what? Sonic Boom was already released by NCircle on DVD last year, and this year, they're like, here's season 1. Here's season 1 on Blu-ray. It's across 3 discs. They are stacked. Slight annoyance, but whatever. 3 discs for the first 52 episodes of the show, plus behind-the-scenes info. There's actually concept art, character design background sheets. It's really cool. It's a little gallery included on the 3rd disc, which is quite surprising. And then to follow that up, they're like, yeah, here's season 2, which, I actually think this came out before the DVDs did, so I didn't end up double dipping like I did with season 1. And then on top of that, they advertised the awesome Jax Eggman robot battle set that I reviewed. go check that out if you haven't. I'm shilling a lot in this video, and I apologize, but I've made a lot of videos this year, and I want to promote. Anyways, 3 discs for Season 2, as well as concept art and character stuff on the last disc. And yeah, these were pretty great. I think they ended up costing about $20 a season, which is not bad at all. And the visual presentation, as you'd expect for a show produced and aired in HD, looks great. They just took the HD masters, put them on the discs, and that's all we can ask for. And I think the episodes are in production order as opposed to air date order, so there is that as well. But honestly, absolutely stellar release, which I didn't expect from a company that I never heard of before this show ever came out on disc. And on top of that, if you are looking to get this and you haven't picked up either season, wait. Next year they are doing a steelbook edition of both seasons together in a complete set, which I also have on order because I have a problem, but wait and get that steelbook because I think it'll overall be cheaper, or it'll be at least compact into one steelbook case with the entire show. Probably the same exact discs, but in a nicer packaging. So there you go. And oh, if you hate steelbooks, yeah, totally pick these up. But whichever way you pick it up, if you want Sonic Boom on disc, this is absolutely top tier stuff right here. And I never thought I'd say that about NCircle Entertainment. So next up, we're going to talk about Warner Archive. And this one's kind of weird because I accidentally, put the case into storage, but we're talking about Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition. I know it's been 5 years, but Warner Archive said, you know what? Here we go. New release. And I guess I'll just pull this out of here. This is my nice Batman v Superman Steelbook. The actual release I'm talking about came in just a standard 4K case with the cover art that you'd expect, which I think is something similar to that, or whatever it was. It's hard to find unless you know what you're looking for, so I'm going to describe it, and I'll leave a link in the description. So if you want to go find it on Amazon, I'll leave a link because it's a little hard to find. But this is probably one of the coolest 4K releases of the entire year, and it's hidden because this is a Warner Archive release, which means it's a manufactured on demand disc release. It's not sold at retail. It is strictly a 4K disc. There is no other extra discs included, which is fine considering how many times this movie's come out. You probably just want to get this. But what this has, compared to the other 4K releases of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition, is this has been recolor graded. So the color grading of the film itself was completed and released multiple times, but someone at Warner Archive called up Zack Snyder and said, hey, do you want to regrade this movie? Because we're going to do some upgrades and put out a new disc right around the time the Snyder Cut got released on HBO Max. And guess what? This is actually probably the best way this movie has ever looked, because in addition to regrading the color on the film, which actually helps separate a lot of the characters from some of the dark gray characters from the dark gray background, it actually makes the movie look really, really good. It also added back in the IMAX shots. So for those that aren't aware, sometimes blockbuster films will have shots specifically shot on IMAX cameras for the big IMAX screens. And they'll insert those into the movie, but then a lot of times when those movies get released on home video or streaming, they'll streamline it down to the same, anamorphic widescreen aspect ratio. Marvel does this, and Disney Plus recently changed up a bunch of their movies to include the IMAX shots. I know some directors want the IMAX shots on home video, some don't, and some want them strictly for a theatrical presentation, but it's all personal preference. Apparently Zack Snyder did want his IMAX shots put back into the movie, and you know what? The IMAX shots plus the regrading of the color has actually made this movie look 1,000 times better than it ever did. In addition to that, there is a new commentary track from Zack Snyder on the film, which honestly was kind of eye-opening because it was done after he completed the Snyder Cut, which means it has a different perspective than when the movie first came out. I think that was really interesting. So this is actually quite a surprising release because you don't ever see a big studio go back and essentially redo one of their movies. And I can understand why Warner Brothers did this as a Warner Archive release, but whoever made this, thank you for this, because this is really great stuff. So check this out. I'm going to leave a link in the description to Amazon. If you want the best version of this movie, absolutely track down this new 4K because it's totally worth it. There is no regular Blu-ray version of it. It's only a 4K, which is the only bummer, but in terms of releases, this was quite surprising and quite beneficial because I think it made this movie so much better than it originally was. Now comes the time where I'm just going to gush about Discotek Media, but I'm going to be quick. I'm going to go through everything that Discotek released that I picked up as far as I can remember, and we're going to talk about why each of them are great. So first up, Medabots Season 3, never been released on home video in North America before, or maybe anywhere, I'm not exactly sure. All 39 episodes of the English dub for Medabots Season 3, also known as Medabot Spirits. Absolutely worth picking up. I love this show, and I'm so glad to have the entire English dub part of it on standard definition Blu-ray. Next up, Memories. Now, Discotek worked really hard on this, especially Magnetic Rose, which is one of the shorts in this nice, wonderful anthology film, to make sure that it looked as best as it could. And they produced a brand new English dub for it, and honestly, it's really, really amazing. This is a stellar film. If you haven't checked it out, I definitely recommend tracking it down. It is quite beautiful animation, as well as really interesting storytelling. Next up, Shaman King. All 64 episodes of the original Shaman King with the English dub. This does not include the Japanese version because of the way 4Kids edited shows. You can't really do a switching audio track on this. So they will release the Japanese version later, but at the time, we just had the English dub. And you know what? 64 episodes on one disc. Pretty dang cool. Pretty awesome. And it timed nicely with the new Shaman King anime on Netflix. Next up, we have a release that I purchased because Discotek put it out, and I totally regretted it because, oh god, this thing is horrifying. I don't recommend Genocyber, but if you know what it is and you like it, this is the best it's ever gonna look. Alright, moving along, we have Fatal Fury, the OVA collection, following up their awesome Fatal Fury, the motion picture release from before. The OVA collection here was redone from the original 35mm film masters. Plus, they included a new commentary track, and I think they even had to redub a couple quick clips in this to add extra scenes that the original dub was missing. So, really wonderful, really stellar work. They worked really hard on this. Definitely worth checking out. Next up, we have Laserion and Daltanius, two more obscure mecha anime. Daltanius is known as being the one that was supposed to be Voltron before Go Lion got picked, and Laserion being the one that I think is very popular in Latin America, or the Philippines, one or the other, or both. Both are pretty great 80s mecha anime, and here they are on standard definition Blu-ray in a totally easy binge format because all the episodes are on one disc, and they look as best as they're ever going to look. And then lastly, next to last, Lupin the Third, because they just totally rolled out so much Lupin this year, it was kind of really impressive. First up, Castle of Cagliostro got a 4K release. This is Discotek's, I think it's their first 4K or their second 4K. They've been working in 4K, and oh boy, absolutely best presentation of this movie I've ever seen. Incredible stuff, really great. Doesn't include a Blu-ray version inside, which, you know, combo packs make them more expensive and more expensive on the manufacturing side, but absolutely the best Castle of Cagliostro's ever looked. This was Hayao Miyazaki's debut film, so if you haven't checked this one out, I definitely recommend it. They also released a bunch of the TV specials, including the Columbus Files. They got The Woman Called Fujiko Mine out on Blu-ray. They also, just, again, Missed by a Dollar is a TV special, Elusiveness of the Fog. They even did a bunch of upscaling work on Return of Paikal to look at it, make it look as best as it probably ever will. Lupin the Third Part 3 was released in English for the first time. It's sub-only, but honestly, this is one of the more forgotten Lupin shows. 2's really popular, 4, 5, and 6 are the newer ones. So 3 is kind of, you know, sort of in between. But yeah, really great release, all 50 episodes on one set. They also did a really stellar release of Lupin the Third Part 5 with so much subtitle work that was really impressive. Lots of great text effects, lots of great detail, and it's also dual audio. So unlike Part 4 where they had to release the English and Japanese separately for whatever licensing reason, both versions are in this. Absolutely stellar release. And to round out the year, they did Lupin the Third versus Detective Conan the movie, and again, great release. And I don't know, is this a new English dub? Sometimes there's new English dubs on these. I don't want to get into the specifics. We could probably do a whole video on how Discotek has been just killing it with Lupin. They've been doing amazing. But probably one of their most standout releases of the year, excluding Project A-ko, which I can't talk about by not having it, but they put a ton of work into it. Grimm's Fairy Tale Classics. Now, this is a show that is so old that there's not even art they could have used for the covers. But they worked so hard on this, so they split the show into 2 sets, 24 episodes on one, 23 on another. This includes the English and Japanese versions, not just the dubs, the versions. So while they're still standard definition on Blu-ray, they actually took the Japanese master video and lined it up to the English audio, including making any visual edits the show made originally. Who does crazy work like this? Discotek. Someone, you know, whoever licensed this, whoever wanted to work on this, boy, y'all are great, because this is absolutely fantastic. Both versions are included. They even have like an unedited version of a couple of the episodes with the English dub, because they had extra takes on the dub. There are bonus features on how they did the remaster and re-edit of these episodes, and just absolutely stellar work. This is a very old anime. It aired, I think it was a Saban-produced dub, and it aired on Nicktoons, but stellar releases. Absolutely amazing. All the show is here in both versions. Boy, if you ever want a Grimm's Fairy Tale Classics, it's never going to look any better, and it's never going to have as many features. So Discotek, hats off to you as always. Like, just look at this stack. And that's not even including the stuff from previous years I picked up this year. This company just gets it, and I really, really appreciate everything they do. So as we move up the chain of surprising releases, I didn't expect to be putting Disney on this list, but they had a couple releases this year that absolutely shocked me. First of all, let's talk about a general release. Who Framed Roger Rabbit on 4K. This being a new Best Buy Steelbook, and it is very, very nice. This is one of the greatest films ever made, in my personal opinion, and it is one of the coolest pieces of animation history, as it contains both Disney and Warner Brothers cartoon characters made in a time when both companies were willing to compromise because neither were too big and too snooty to ever think, oh, well, we can't have our characters in our competitor's movie or whatnot. The magic of Who Framed Roger Rabbit is never, I don't think, ever debated, but getting it on 4K, where they've mastered it so well that honestly the animation blends with the live action even more seamless than I think I've ever seen it, including all the bonus features from the previous Blu-ray, including the extra Roger Rabbit shorts that were produced later. This is stellar work. And it was released by Disney. It doesn't have the Disney logo on it, because it has the Touchstone Pictures logo. I think that's how the rights worked out. I don't think they can re-release it as a Disney movie, but okay, there's the Disney logo there on the card and the Disney movie insider points and all that. But here's the thing. I didn't expect Roger Rabbit to get a 4K because Disney's like, oh, we don't do, discs aren't our thing anymore. We're only going to release the Disney Plus shows on streaming because we think that if people buy them on Blu-ray, they have no reason to stream. Like, look, the people that are going to be buying stuff on Blu-ray are already subscribed to Disney Plus. I'm going to subscribe to Disney Plus. If you give me, Hawkeye and Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision on Blu-ray, that's not going to make me cancel my Disney Plus subscription because you keep putting out stuff that I'm going to watch. Just let me buy this stuff. Let me give you extra money, Disney. I will do it. I want these things on my shelf. Anyways, so with all that said, they've been kind of moving away from discs, it seems, but yet here we are, Who Framed Roger Rabbit in 4K in this wonderful, lovely steelbook. But that is not the most surprising release of the year, because through their Disney Movie Club thing, which is more complicated than I have time to explain here, they released The Black Cauldron on Blu-ray. The Black Cauldron. The movie they'd pretend didn't exist. The movie that was quote-unquote too dark, that got hacked up at the last second, that has a crazy production history that people have covered on YouTube much more extensively than I can cover here. The Black Cauldron is a movie that, honestly, I never in my lifetime expected a Blu-ray of. And in fact, I really didn't know that Disney Movie Club had exclusive Blu-rays. And after this, I found out The Three Caballeros, one of my favorite Disney films of all time, if not my favorite Disney animated film of all time, got a Blu-ray on there. Disney Movie Club has been where I've been buying Disney movies through. It's where I get my MCU stuff. It's actually working out for me discount-wise, but it is a complicated system. I don't recommend going into it blind. Do your research. But if you get into Disney Movie Club, The Black Cauldron exists on Blu-ray. There's also a bunch of other releases this year. I know they did The Last Starfighter, and they did some other more obscure stuff. But boy, I did not expect The Black Cauldron, and boy, am I glad it came out. So, yeah, good job, Disney. You said you were moving away from discs, and yet here are two of my favorite releases of the year. So, thanks for feeding my very specific Disney interests. Alright, let's talk about Arrow Video, because Arrow Video, always going for the obscure, but always capturing my heart. They re-released the Gamera films onto individual box sets. This is the standard release for Gamera, compared to their bigger, fancy release from last year, and boy, look at this. This is a standard release. The Showa era films in one set, the Heisei era's in another. They line up to make connecting art. This is glorious. This is technically a 2020 release that got re-released in 2021, but Arrow Video didn't need to go this hard. And also, like, the fact that every Blu-ray case had its own poster art that's, like, new for this release. And then if you don't want the new art by Matt Frank, which I think it looks really good, you can also get the original poster art as a reversible cover. You didn't need to go this hard, but I appreciate it because Arrow Video, you are crazy like a fox, and you just keep getting crazier. That being said, they got crazier because following up their camera, here is Daimajin. So this is the Daimajin trilogy, which, okay, so I've never seen Daimajin. I just bought this because Kaiju movie, Arrow Video, great stuff. This, again, no one was asking for Daimajin to be released, you know, so amazingly, but here we are. So this release includes all 3 Daimajin films with new artwork on them, as well as a really thick booklet that has artwork, images, behind-the-scenes information, so much stuff. Again, nobody asked you to go this hard, Arrow Video, but you did, and I appreciate it. I also want to say there's some extra physical bonuses. Yeah, there's a fold-out poster, and there's these cards that have the original poster on one side and the new art on the other. Again, who asked for Daimajin to be this nice? Probably someone at Arrow Video, and we all benefited from it. So, really great stuff. Moving away from Kaiju films, we have Dune. Now, of course, with the new Dune film releasing this year into theaters and HBO Max and whatnot, which, very good, actually. I thought Dune, well, now we know as Dune Part 1, it's actually really good. Having not seen the original until this year with this Blu-ray, this was something my parents wanted to get, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, let's do it, because I want to see the original Dune before we see the next movie adaptation. This 4K release, it did lose a bonus feature. I know it was supposed to have a documentary, but honestly, it doesn't take away from this. It's a 2-disc release where you have a bonus features disc in Blu-ray and the movie itself in 4K. You get all these cool, I love these cards. They give me a really good, like, throwback vibe. Just the way the font is and all the images. And you know what? In terms of releases for this film, probably the best it's going to look. And yeah, there's some other European releases that have more bonus content to it. But for a release that is coming out to the US and UK, Arrow Video, they did do a good job here. Just like with Daimajin, it's got a big, thick booklet with a ton of words and pictures. And then it also has a fold-out poster. The limited editions for Arrow Video are really nice, and I've never gotten the chance to pick up many of them because until recently I hadn't been paying enough attention to them to catch these limited editions. But they're re-releasing RoboCop and An American Werewolf on London in 4K with, you know, booklets and stuff. I'm excited. But yeah, Arrow Video, I haven't been paying attention to you long, but you keep churning out the greats. Just absolutely amazing stuff. No one, you know, logically goes, oh yeah, let's make a Daimajin set that has more content than the most recent, like, Back to the Future release. But here we are, and I love it. I guess when we rank stuff in the least surprising to most surprising, this is pretty surprising, but not as surprising as the next one. So I'm kind of ranking it this way, but Kino Lorber Classics released the 1923 silent film, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, starring Lon Chaney. Now this is going to be me geeking out because, I freaking love this version of Hunchback. I saw it years ago on, I think, Turner Classic Movies during some movie marathon, and I've always wanted to own a disc version of it, but never really sure where to find it. Being a film that is, you know, 99 years old, it's in public domain, but specific versions of it haven't been as stellar releases, and I've always been kind of, like, wondering if Kino Lorber would ever get to release this. And sadly, this release had, like, zero fanfare, because I didn't even hear about it until a week after it came out, and I quickly ordered it because, yeah, it's the 1923 Hunchback of Notre Dame. It was one of Universal's, what was called their $1 million movies, where they spent $1 million, which was nuts back in 1923, and it's absolutely amazing. In addition to that, they did a remaster off of, it's a 4K remaster off of the film print that they had, the best one. I think they actually had to cobble together a few of them, similar to their Nosferatu and similar to their Phantom of the Opera releases. But, you know, they don't have the original film master because it got destroyed, and they had whatever they could work with, but they made the movie look amazing. There are a couple scenes that are really kind of scratched up and really, fuzzy. But for the most part, it's an incredibly clear presentation. Considering this movie is almost 100 years old, the fact we have a 4K mastered Blu-ray release of it, just incredible. And then on top of that, there's a bunch of bonus features. There's additional music stuff, production skills, publicity materials. There's a commentary by a film critic, a booklet by a historian. There's a Life at Hollywood newsreel that shows some of the filming of this movie. Incredible stuff. I love getting movies that are almost 100 years old on Blu-ray and them looking really fantastic. And the fact you can master a 100-year-old movie into 4K because of the power of film, just incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible. So to wrap up this top best of 2021, we're throwing things over to Paramount. First up, Indiana Jones. Now, while not the prettiest looking set, especially the standard edition, this is the Steelbook edition, getting the 4 Indiana Jones films on 4K is something I really wanted. So first of all, my Indiana Jones Blu-rays I've had for the last several years just ended up in a storage unit during some moving and reorganizing, so I haven't been able to watch the movies in a while. But this release is honestly super dramatically life-changing because the movies never have looked better. Spielberg, in fact, oversaw the 4K restoration of this. They used the original special effects plates to readjust and remap the shots so the special effects shots look even better. And honestly, I don't see these movies looking any better than this. And I'm really, really, really glad that even though Disney purchased Lucasfilm and I think Disney's producing the next Indiana Jones film, Paramount still has the rights to the original films. Because I would not see Disney and Disney Lucasfilm releasing these movies this nice. Because they screwed up the Star Wars 4K so terribly that I'm so happy that Paramount still has the rights. Because they got Spielberg involved, they got everybody involved. They brought over pretty much all the bonus features, because that last disc is a bonus disc of Blu-ray, not 4K. The digital code is stuck in there. Yeah, no, absolutely one of my favorite film series of all time. I will even enjoy Crystal Skull. I enjoyed it so much I hit the camera. I enjoyed Crystal Skull. I really do. I think it's gotten better with time, honestly. Great set of films and looking absolutely the best they ever can. Thank you, Paramount. And then, of course, Paramount wasn't done because, boom, Star Trek. As you know, I love Star Trek. As you may know, I've been asking for Star Trek 4K movies for years. We got the Kelvin movies on 4K, the Chris Pine and Friends set, and we finally got the original 4 in 4K. So they actually re-released the 4 movies on Blu-ray as well. They have the same cover art, which is just kind of strange because it only has 5 of the 7 main crew members. Like Sulu and Chekhov just get left off. Kind of a weird artwork too because it's trying to represent all the movies at once, which is really tricky. So this set includes the first 4 films. So the theatrical version of the motion picture, the director's cut and theatrical version of Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, and The Voyage Home. The director's edition of motion picture is getting a ton of work done and will be a separate release later because it's going exclusively to Paramount Plus first and then a Blu-ray next year. So hopefully by this time next year I'll be talking about how the motion picture director's edition 4K is one of the best releases. But yeah, you get all the movies on Blu-ray and 4K, and that is pretty dang cool. So overall, I mean, I was waiting for this, and I guess I should talk about it. The 4K masters on this have basically boggled people's minds because they're like, oh no, the Enterprise is the wrong color. Oh no, his uniform's the wrong color. Oh no. When you realize that since 2009, these movies have looked, same for Indiana Jones. These movies have had weird color tinting because they were the early Blu-ray things. They weren't properly mastered. So Paramount went back and redid the masters on both of these. And they look great. I think the Indiana Jones set maybe is a little bit more tuned in because it had the original director involved. The Star Trek ones, though, look incredible. It's life-changing. You look at it and you're like, oh my god, McCoy was wearing a gray jumpsuit. Why is this scene not purple? And then you look back at the previous DVD releases or some of the laser discs or some of the production stills and you go, oh, the Blu-ray's been lying to me for the last decade plus. So honestly, when it comes to surprising, I'm surprised Paramount has been embracing 4K this much, but please keep going. Just roll these out. I'm ready. There's a bunch of other smaller releases, not these big box sets, that I haven't talked about, but Paramount's been doing an incredible job with 4K lately, and they're really pioneering that. So keep going, Paramount. Give me the other movies. I don't care how you're breaking down the next 6 of them. Just tell me when the next set's out. Just tell me when the next set's out, and I'm right there. I'm ready. I need Undiscovered Country in 4K. I need First Contact in 4K. And however long that takes that, I don't care. I want all the movies. Just roll them out. I got this one. I'm ready for more. I'm ready. Just give me more. But make sure they're good. Don't rush them out. You know what I mean? But that concludes my best of 2021. So that does it for my best Blu-rays of 2021 list. Tell me if you agree or not in the comments below, and tell me what your favorite release of 2021 is. I know there were some other releases that I didn't pick up. Either I didn't have interest, or I never got around to it. But I hope this was at least a comprehensive list of the best releases that I found out of the releases I did purchase this year. If you enjoy videos about Blu-rays and DVDs, check out my other disc discussions on the channel. I have a playlist as well that compiles everything together. The videos have been doing much better this year, especially the disc discussions, so thank you for everyone for your support. I'm going to keep doing these. I got a couple ideas in the pipeline, and we'll definitely be discussing those in the near future. So if you enjoyed this, hit the like button, hit subscribe and the notification bell to keep up with future uploads. Be sure to check out Hero Club at hero-club.com for geek news and more, and my awesome graphic designer on Twitter at darkclaw643. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.